Billy B. Brown, The Extra Special Helper by Sally Rippon. Chapter 1. Billy B. Brown has one sun hat, one water bottle, and 14 clipboards. Do you want to know what the Billy B. Brown stands for? Bossy. Billy B. Brown can sometimes be just a teensy bit bossy. Like today, for example, Billy and a class are going on an excursion. They're going to the zoo. Do you know why Billy is carrying so many clipboards? 14 clipboards, sun hat, water bottle. Miss Wharton has asked Billy to be her extra special helper. Billy is helping Miss Wharton carry all the clipboards for their excursion. Usually Ella and Tracy get to be Miss Wharton's helpers, but today Miss Wharton has chosen Billy. Billy feels very proud. He gets to sit next to Miss Wharton on the bus. You will have to help me. Make sure nobody gets lost today, Billy. Miss Wharton says. It's a very important job. Of course, says Billy. Okay, now, after so much noise, please, Miss Wharton calls out to the boys at the back of the bus. Billy turns around and look. The boys at the back are making a lot of noise. Billy waves to Jack. Jack is Billy's best friend. They have been best friends since they were babies. Usually, Billy and Jack sit together. But today, Billy is being Miss Wharton's extra special helper. So Jack is sitting with the other boys at the back of the bus. The boys are laughing and Sam is singing a loud song. Billy, Miss Wharton says, can you please go and ask the boys to keep it down a bit? Billy walks to the back of the bus. You boys are making too much noise, she says. Who says? Ask Sam. Yeah, who says? Ask Benny. Benny is Sam's best friend. Miss Wharton, says Billy. She told me to tell you to keep it down. Benny looks at Jack. Sam looks at Jack. Jack shrugs. Sorry, Billy. He says, we'll try to be quieter. Good, says Billy, and he marches back to the front of the bus. Thank you, Billy, Miss Wharton says. Billy beams. He likes being an extra special helper. Chapter 2. When they get to the zoo, Miss Wharton tells the class to form two lines. One line is in front of Miss Wharton, and the other line is in front of Billy. Miss Wharton and Billy hand out the clipboards. Now, hold on to your clipboards, please, says Miss Wharton. I want them all back at the end of the day. Don't lose the clipboards, Billy says, handing them out to Benny, Sam, and Jack. Jack frowns. I won't, he says. I'm just saying, that's all, says Billy, walking down the line. Now, everyone stay together, Miss Wharton says. I don't want to lose anyone, okay? Okay, everyone in Billy's class shouts. Okay! They're all very excited. A day at the zoo is much more fun than school. Great, says Miss Wharton. First, we're going to look at the reptiles. I want you to put the animals you see today into two groups, warm-blooded and cold-blooded, okay? Benny puts up his hand. What's warm-blooded and cold-blooded? Miss Wharton sighs. Benny, we have been learning about this all term. Don't worry, Miss Wharton, Billy says. I will help Benny. Benny frowns. No, thanks, he says. You are already helping Miss Wharton. Jack can help me. Sure, says Jack. Jack swings his arm over Benny's shoulder. It's easy, look. Billy watches Benny and Jack talking together. She feels a teensy bit jealous. Usually Jack is her partner in class. But then Miss Wharton asks Billy to help her hand out pencils, and Billy feels important again. Billy, I need you to walk at the end of the line to make sure no one gets left behind, says Miss Wharton. Billy scrunches up her forehead or forehead. She doesn't want to walk at the end of the line. She wants to walk in the middle of the line with Jack, or up the front with Miss Wharton. But Miss Wharton has asked Billy to be her extra special helper today. So Billy nods. Okay, says Billy. Thank you, says Miss Wharton. It's very important no one gets lost. The zoo is a very big place. Chapter 3. The class walk in two lines to the reptile house. Billy walks at the end of the two lines to make sure nobody gets lost. He has a very important job to do. They look at the lizards and tortoises and crocodiles. Billy knows that these animals are all cold-blooded. They have studied this in class. She writes them down on her list. Next, they go to look at the monkeys. The monkeys are Billy's favorite. Billy especially loves the baby chimpanzees. They are so cheeky. Billy puts monkeys on warm-blooded heading. Too easy. Billy looks up from her clipboard. Sam, Benny, and Jack are pulling silly faces at the monkeys. Billy thinks they look very funny. They look like monkeys themselves. She giggles. But then Miss Wharton looks over. Come on, boys, she calls. You are holding up the line. Billy marches over to the boys. She had almost forgotten her important job. She has to make sure no one gets left behind. Hurry up, she says. Come on, everyone's waiting. You are very bossy today, Billy, says Jack. Billy looks at Jack. He's not making a silly monkey face anymore. He's not even making a happy Jack face. He's making a very cross face. And he's making that cross face at Billy. Billy feels all jumbled up inside. She wants Jack to be happy with her. Jack is her best friend, but she wants Miss Wharton to be happy with her too. She is Miss Wharton's extra special helper. Billy doesn't want to let her down. Billy frowns. I'm not bossy. I just have to make sure no one gets lost, he says. He walks behind the boys to the back of the line. If Jack is cross with her, then she is cross with him too. The class walks out of the monkey area and along the path to the next stop. They look at the lions and tigers and the long-necked giraffes. Then they walk through the steamy butterfly room. Billy writes down all the animals on her sheet of paper. She knows all the answers. Chapter 4. Soon, they came to the sea creatures. They go into a duck tunnel under the water. Billy stands in front of the glass and watches the dolphins. They duck and weave and chatter. Billy thinks they are wonderful. A baby dolphin swims next to his mother, bobbing his head up and down. Billy waves and the baby dolphin opens his mouth into a big smile. Billy wonders. Are dolphins warm-blooded or cold-blooded? Billy cannot remember. Do baby dolphins come out of eggs? She isn't sure. Billy has an idea. She will ask Jack for help. Every time Billy is stuck on a question in class, Jack helps her. If Jack gets stuck, Billy helps him. That's what best friends do. Billy looks around for Jack, but Jack is nowhere to be seen. In fact, the whole class is gone. Billy has been left behind. Billy runs out of the tunnel. She looks to the left, nobody. She looks to the right, nobody. Billy is lost. She feels like she's going to cry. Suddenly, from behind the corner, a face appears. The face has freckles and a big goofy smile. Do you know who it is? That's right, it's Jack. He has come back for Billy. She has never been so happy to see him. Come on, Billy, he jokes. You are holding everyone up. Billy blushes. Sorry for being so bossy before, she says. Thanks for coming back. That's okay, says Jack. Holding Billy's hand, I know you were just trying to help Miss Wharton. I was so worried about everyone else getting lost that I got lost myself, says Billy. Lucky I noticed that you were gone, says Jack. Billy feels lucky to have such a good friend. Then she has an idea. Hey, will you walk at the back with me? Sure, says Jack, smiling. Then suddenly he frowns. Oh no, he says. What? Asks Billy. She's worried he may have changed his mind. Maybe he doesn't want to walk with her anymore. Your clipboard, where is it? Jack says. Oh, I must have left it near the dolphins. Billy gasps. I'm not a very good helper today, am I? She says. I think I need my own extra special helper. Jack laughs. Come on, let's go and get your clipboard before we are both lost. He says. You are very bossy today, Jack, says Billy, but she is smiling. They both run back into the tunnel to find the clipboard. Then they run as fast as they can to join the end of the line again. And do you know what? They are so fast that nobody even noticed they were gone. Alright, so much for today. See you guys next time. Bye.